stew, and her name is Minerva Oaks. She's the flower of the flower coach.
Welcome to the show.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Dude, I'm right here. Am I though? Am I late? Did I put the wrong time on this? I came into StreamYard like it's 2:58. That's 3:00 Pacific time. And I could have swore that's what I put the show on, but it said it was showtime already. And I'm like, did I put enter the wrong time of this thing? I have no idea what happened there. But normally the show starts at 3:00 Pacific time. It is just a hair under 3. So I'm actually early, unless I put the wrong time in the someplace and confused you guys. And I apologize for that if I did, but I was putting the show together after midnight last night because I was working on Barbaric Adventures, and we'll show you what I was working on later. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Even if I'm way late and you're way early or whatever the problem is, we're all together now and we can move forward and hopefully hold no grudges. Let's see who's in the chat, shall we? There's me. Creative Bay says, it sounds like a good show, although portions sound drab. Here, okay, catch this. Okay, first one right out of the gate, Creative Faye crushed her with a cannonball. Nothing about the Academy Awards is drab, because what I'm going to be giving you today is like some dirt, inside information that is way more interesting than who won or who lost the award. So it's not just me going to go, oh, Wings won the first Academy Award from 1927. It's going to be more than that, and hopefully a lot more entertaining, but we shall see. I always like a little Hollywood Babylon mixed in with, the drier stuff. So we'll get some of that in there. Let's see. Pastmaster Dan is here. Marcus Killer Group, purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge. See, he's showing at 1:30 p.m. What in the world? What time did I put the start time on this? I must have been like freaking way off. So I apologize. I don't know. I can't even remember what it is now, what it was listed at, but apparently way off. So my apologies. Corum says, best page ever drawn. Betty. I get it. See, that was a joke. If you look at it really closely, it says best page ever drawn. Betty, as in Betty Page. I still think it's funny. Okay. So anyway, let's see. 3 Pacific is an hour from now. No. Was ist das? I don't know. People are just like, I'm assuming he meant 6 Eastern. Did I say 3 Eastern? I must have. I wonder if I did. Yeah, there's Pity Ma. So you guys were here like, I wonder why there's so many people in the chat, and it was like way early. And I'm like, you guys were here like too early because I guess I put the wrong time. I don't know. I apologize again. There's GJ Martinez. I hope you guys that were here early have now come back. I can only hope. So 5 p.m. Central, not 5 p.m. Eastern. It really should have a time zone stamp on the schedule. Oh, well, I'm trying again at 6 p.m. Eastern then. There we go. Okay, there was apparently a lot of confusion. That was Henry Angelus. Henry Angelus, this is a good question. Anyone here not getting Barbaric, and why not? We're going to delve into that question in a little bit. Eric M. Boyd is here. Matthew Muma. Chris Starr is here. So late, saying. Late and Charles Nelson Riley. There's such strange goings on. Past Master Dan, bet he forgot the time change that happens to older folk. There was a time change. It was like 3 weeks ago, wasn't it? Anyway, so everybody's debating the time. So yeah, I must have typed in the wrong thing. Craig T6T9 is here. Gemini Dragon. I am the real Bigfoot. He says late and Ricky Martin. I said, Gollum Wolf is here, or was here. Farfig Nugan is joining us. I hope all you guys are still here. I'm reading from the chat from like 2 hours ago when I apparently wasn't. Everybody's debating the time, and yeah, Stell says late. I'm on time. I just telling you, I must have typed in the wrong time. I don't know. Like I said, it was after midnight when I was trying to put this thing together because I was working really late, and as a result, here we are. Right. So. Okay, everybody's laughing at me and having a good old time. At my expense, it's like a Lopresti time warp. Okay. Avenger 2, are we on time? I don't know. I still don't know. Yes, here we are. Look at us. We're here. Coke is a powerful drug. I neither sniff Coke nor drink it. So I'm a water guy almost exclusively. Yeah, there you go. Now you're the one who's late, Pittymon, not me. Gollum Wolf says, I've already ordered Barbaric Adventures, but I'm thinking about upgrading to the big Barbaric box. I think you should. I really do. Okay, there's Randy Howell all the way from Canada. The guys are rolling back in that were here earlier, starting to come back in. Appreciate that. I am brutally sorry for whatever I typed in. But it's always 3 o'clock unless I type in something else. My goal is always to do the show at 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern, unless I'm babysitting and then it becomes a late night show. But I usually put that in, X or something like that to let you guys know. So this was, what are you going to do? Time warp. I'm telling you guys. So do I wait for this? Do I say it now? No. Okay. We're going to do this first. Kind of like the Academy Awards where, and I think I said this last week, and I'll say it again, gosh darn it, in case you weren't paying attention, that they always open the show with Best Supporting Actor or Best Supporting Actress, right? To kind of draw everybody in with a big major award right off the bat. And then they go through all the boring crap. Well, there's no boring crap on this show. It's all pure high-octane entertainment. But I do want to, before I just jump in and start, doing my advertising, I do want to give you guys a little something to get the show rolling. So that's what we're going to do right off the bat. As people continue to stroll in here. There's Corey Landis. Oh, he's saying, okay, so you were able to watch Shanthan Jetty show while you were waiting for my show to start. I appreciate that. You guys coming over here. There's always someone on, it seems like, doesn't it? Marcus Killigrew says, no boring crap. Really? I'm not sure, but I want to say that's now 2 weeks in a row that Marcus has got hit with a cannonball. Oh my God. You guys are just piling on. one man's boring is another man's entertainment. That's what I like to say. So, hey, there's Michelle Bowers with her sword. Thanks for joining us. Marcus Kilgore says, no, it's 3 out of 4. So he's been hit with a cannonball 3 of the last 4 weeks. Okay. All right. Enough of this nonsense. Let's get into some serious, high quality. Okay, that was the wrong thing. This is what I wanted. I was just at Trader Joe's today. Picked up sparkling water, black cherry vanilla. This is actually really good. 0 calories, a lot of carbonation. So you know what's going to happen there. Okay, so let's take a look at this this week's expensive comic of the week. This is one that seems to be more popular now than maybe it was back in the day. If I can find my share button. Boing, there it is. Exciting Comics number 9. This is, of course, the very first appearance of the Black Terror. This is a Von Klaus has made a living out of doing Black Terror comics, and he wasn't the first. I want to say I'm pretty sure Dan Brereton illustrated one of these. I don't know if Chaykin wrote it or somebody else did back in the was it Eclipse that did that comic? But it's odd. You can take a look at all the superheroes from the Golden Age and ones that, you know, people bought up the copyrights for. All the, you know, the Charlton characters, you know, DC went and got. Captain Marvel, DC went and got. But somehow the Black Terror fell into public domain, and now all of us can use him. Now, this book is pretty freaking expensive. Now, check this out. If you see this right here, sold on January 14th, 2022 for $33,600. Now, that was at maybe the height of the comic book COVID boom era, where I talked to so many dealers and they're all like, oh, this is never going to end. I kept going, I kind of think it is. And they're like, no, this is going to keep going, man. And sure enough, it hasn't. But so this is now, as you see, make an offer to the owner of $50,000 or more. Okay, well, let's dig a little deeper into this book. Let's go to my friends over at Go Collect. And see exactly what this book is worth. All right. So the interesting thing about this book is the highest grade you can get, or at least that's been graded, is an 8.5. So that's pretty unusual. So a high grade book, like if someone were to come across a 9.0 or a 9.2, it would be very expensive. We have only 41 of these books graded. That's right in line with the first appearance of Archie. If you guys remember from a couple of weeks ago, from Pep Comics, what was it, 22, I think? It was in the 40s. So this is a fairly rare book. Now let's take a look at these. Look at that 6.5. What does that say right there? Fair market value for a 6.5 is $16,000. And that book sold in 2022. Was it 22 or 23 that we just looked at? For $33,500. Okay. So let's dig a little deeper into this. Okay, so if we click on the 6.5, the sales for it'd be nice if it actually took us there. Let's try that again. There it is. Okay. So there's that Heritage Auction sale in 2022, excuse me. 6.5, $33,600. The previous sale before that in 2016, that's a 6-year difference, was $9,000. Okay, so this is obviously hyper inflated. So this guy wants to get, this is going up for auction again very soon on Heritage. And he's going to be hard pressed to get that. So what's this thing really worth? Well, let's go back and take a look. So an 8.5, okay, there's only 2 of them in existence that we know of. They've been, at least that have been graded. Okay, so let's take a look. The 8.5 sold in 2022, again, the height of the COVID boom, 52.8. Well, it recently sold in 2024, June of 2024, which is a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, for 45.6. And I'll bet money it sells for less than that now if it were to go up. I wouldn't be surprised if that was down to 40,000, 38, 39 grand. So if that's the case, what is that 6.5 really worth that guy spent $33,000 on? There's 5 of those at 6.5. I should be able to pull up the grade. There it is. Okay. Let's go back and take a look at that. I spent $33,600 on it. But prior, it was about a $10,000 book prior to COVID. So this could be as low as about 15 grand in 6.5 right now, which that would hurt if you just invested 33.6. So what I'm saying now is if you want to get in on this book, the first appearance of the Black Terror from 1941, where there's only 41 graded copies available and only 5 in 6.5. If that goes up on Heritage again here soon, you want to jump in, you might be able to get that for 15, 16 grand and feel pretty darn good about yourself. And the guy that's paid 38 for it or 36 for it, he's going to be crying. 33. He's going to be crying. Going to be crying. But it's still a very significant book. I wouldn't mind having it. As you can see, you got the Black Terror with his little buddy Mini Terror. I have no idea what that kid's name is. Tim. So the Black Terror and Tim. How come the main superhero has a name like Black Terror and then his sidekick is just, you know, Tim or Robin or Bobby or Jimmy? What with Bucky, you know? They don't even have a superhero name. So he's wearing a mask. He's got the suit on, but it's calling, hey, Tim, come here. Why don't you just say Tim, whatever your last name is, and then just give his whole identity away? But anyway, why are you running around jeopardizing these 12, 14-year-old kids? I don't know. I guess that was the way of the world back in the 40s. Obviously, they put the kids in the books because they thought the kids wanted somebody their own age to identify with. I don't know if that really helped or not. Because as I was a little kid, I always looked up to the older, you know, I want to be like Superman or Captain America. I didn't want to be like Bucky. You know, Bucky just got in the way. I didn't want to be the kid that got in the way that Cap had to save all the time. I wanted to be Cap. So I don't know if that philosophy made any sense. Maybe it did in the 40s. But anyway, so there you go. Be careful. There's a lot of books floating around right now that people paid way too much money for during the COVID boom, and they're now still trying to get that much money, and they ain't worth it. So, you know what they always say in the market: buy low, sell high, baby. Don't buy high, and don't get high while you're buying. All right. Colin Wolf says the 40s were rough on everyone. No one wanted to be Robin. I don't think they did. Did they? Maybe they did. In the 40s, maybe, you know, being Robin was cool. I don't know. Let's see. Captain America is way better than the Shield. Yes, I would agree. I have no idea what I see. Liam was going in on you recently. I have no idea what he's talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. I would be interested to know just for amusement purposes. But that's about the extent of that. The buyer thought it was the first appearance of Black Adam. I don't think Black Adam's worth that much. First appearance of Black Adam. Well, I'm not really sure where that is, but it wouldn't have been till might have even been till the 70s. Yeah, you find that a lot. There's a lot of restoration out there, and you got to be careful, especially if you're buying these books raw. Usually that restoration is caught in the in the grading process, but you can buy them raw and not think they're restored, and then you decide to get them graded, and suddenly you are. Shantha Interest has expressed interest in doing a short story for Barbaric Adventures too. Let's hope there is a 2. Thank you, Golem Wolf. Yeah, because the way Indiegogo is set up now is that if apparently, okay, I'm still learning all this stuff myself, but since they don't actually charge a card like Kickstarter until you till the campaign ends, you can go in there and like cancel your order and then order something else, and it's like piece of cake. So Avengers says Alex Ross did a Powers comic book with a Black Terror and a bunch of other PD superheroes for Dynamite Comics. Let's see. Craig T saying aluminum cans have an inner plastic coating that leak microplastics. Okay, so I'm basically killing myself by drinking water out of a can. Wow, I feel really good about myself right now. Saw Project Hail Mary yesterday. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Is that the Ryan Gosling thing that's like 3 hours long or something? Oh, on Apex Comics, not you. Oh, okay. That is wise. Don't attack me. I did. I talked to, Randy Howell said, if you tip it up, that'll clear out the carburetor. Didn't work. So I talked to a friend of mine. He says, there's this thing called sea foam that you can spray or pour into your gas, and it helps if the carburetor is like gunked up, it'll help, clear it out. So I said, I'm going to go try that, because I was about ready to just throw in the towel. And so I went and got some of that. And then I saw, one of that instant start, you spray directly into the carburetor. So I sprayed that into the carburetor and then poured that other stuff in with the gas, and it started right up with the instant starter, which it usually does. The question is, will it keep going? And it did. So I don't know what the moral of the story is, but I was able to mow my backyard finally, as it was getting about, that deep back there, the grass was. So hopefully I've got more of that instant starter stuff. So if it gives me trouble again, I'm just spray it right in the carburetor, get it started, and just go and hope it stays running long enough. Gemini Dragon says, I see foam when I pour beer. True. Stealth X5 says, even though first he comes out and accuses me of being late, which I guess I wasn't late. What I did was I was incompetent. I typed in the wrong time, apparently. And Stealth says, he still says hello. He comes back and says hello, and I appreciate that for the $2. Thank you very much. I am, and I'm not a handy guy. I can do, when my dad was still alive, who was very handy, I'd come up and say, Dad, I'm going to put tile in the bathroom. He'd go, all right. And he'd come over, and we would do it together because he could do that stuff. And it's like, my mind must have just went someplace else while we were doing it, because I don't remember how to do any of that stuff. I laid the entire tile in with my dad, and I was actively participating. I wasn't just watching him do it. In our bathroom many years ago, when Shelley and I first got married, and I couldn't do it to save my life now. And we put in a fake wall in my garage in the same house back in the day because we moved my studio out into the garage and we laid down like carpet over the concrete. And then we put where the garage door is, we about 3 feet in from that, we put up a fake wall. I mean, it was a real wall, but it was finished on one side, not the other. And we built this entire wall, put in an electrical outlet, and turned my garage into an art studio. There's no way I could do that. With my dad there to hold my hand, I'm pretty handy. When I'm by myself, it's trouble. But I'm pretty happy with myself. I figured out how to take the air filter out of the lawnmower and figured out where the carburetor was and all that kind of stuff. Marcus Killiger says comics makes you lose intelligence. You might be right. There is that too. Barbaric Adventures is putting hair on Aaron's chest. It's all gray, but man, there's a lot of it here. So, yeah, I actually did. I jumped in on a couple of YouTube tutorial videos on the lawnmower, and they weren't really all that helpful because they were saying, well, if it does this and it was kind of like I don't know why it was. If I held the choke down, it would start, but I had to do that and pull the cord at the same time. And then it would low idle, but then when I left it open up to get, so it would run faster, it would die. So it was just strange things going on. Creative Face says, you didn't need to flash us, Aaron. I'm just keeping it real, as the kids say. Okay, so that is our expensive comic of the week. Exciting Comics number 9, the very first appearance of the Black Terror, which I wouldn't mind having, but we'll see. We'll see. I don't have enough money to get that ever. So, but it is nice to know that the prices are coming down, and I feel bad for that guy that spent all that money on a book that's worth half of what he paid for it. All right, now it's time to get into a little Barbaric Adventures talk. We have surpassed. Let me bring this up. There it is. We have surpassed 300 backers. Now, this is an interesting thing. The way Indiegogo does stuff is they used to, if you backed like 5 times, on separate occasions, which happened a lot, they would count every time you backed as an individual backer. So your campaign, say, has 2,000 backers. Well, maybe it only really has 1,500 unique backers, but it says you have 2,000 backers. So you can't really gauge how many people are actually reading your book. Well, now the numbers are more authentic because this number here, the $24,844, boy, we are right on the verge of 25,000. Could we get there today? I think we could if we pressure some people here that haven't backed yet to get in there and back. But so anyway, there are 303 unique backers in there right now, I believe. And so that's the actual number of backers there. And that money is the actual money you've raised, not counting the shipping, right? Because if it had shipping on there, it would be another probably $3,000 on there. So we'd be at 27. So it looks a little bit more impressive, but it's really not true because of the shipping. But the shipping's not in there anymore. So we're getting truer numbers with Indiegogo, which I actually kind of like. So you don't have to kind of guess where you're at. You got a pretty good, clear idea of it. So what I've decided to do to help energize the campaign, because let's be honest, the numbers are really low compared to what many of us, well, I speak for myself, what I've experienced in the last couple of years on Wraith of God, Kit Carter, so forth and so on. These numbers are really low compared to that. So is it is it the fracturing of the fan base? Is it the economy? Is it people just don't like barbarian magazines? I don't know. But So we're having to work a little harder here to get those numbers up where they need to be. And so that's why I've been, streaming a lot. David and I have been streaming a lot, just doing kind of casual draw streams, things like that to promote it. And I appreciate you guys getting out there and promoting it on social media. And I ask you kindly to please keep doing that so we can get these numbers up on this book. But I think, if we were to get 600 backers on this thing, we'd probably be in pretty good shape. So that's kind of the goal. So I kind of look at this. We're at the halfway mark right now, 303 backers. And what I'm going to do is I am going to, every time we hit double zeros, so at 300, it starts. And then when we hit 400 backers, we'll do another one. And I'll tell you what that is in a second. At 500, so on, 600, so on. So what I'm going to do is raffle off some art. Okay. So I went through the old portfolio and I thought, what would be apropos? What would be good to raffle off? And so I'm going to take the first 300 backers, or 303, whatever it is. How many of the backers we have by Wednesday on Graybeards? I'm going to have somebody, maybe somebody like Katie did, or I don't know, somebody pick a number between 1 and 300. And whoever gets that's going to get this nice little Conan sketch here for free. Okay. So we'll randomly pick a backer between 0 and 300, and they're going to get this. Randy Howell for 2 is saying, with that Jusco cover, put it on Kickstarter. I will. But when this closes down, there's a 2-week dead period. That's when the Kickstarter campaign will go up. So if we've got people over on Kickstarter that have no freaking idea what I've been doing the last 5 years, maybe we can pick up a little bit more business there as well. But so anyway, that Conan piece will be up for not auction, but it'll be raffled off. And one of you guys that have already backed will get that Conan piece there. So how about that? Creative Face says, Aaron, did you get your package? I just got notification that there's one at the place. I have to go pick it up. But so I assume that's it. So thank you all. I'll let you know when I get it. I'll try and get it over there tomorrow to get it. Okay, so let's get back to this and let me give you the quick rundown here. When I do this the right way. There we go. Let's go ahead and watch this video. You know why? Because I paid money for it, and I think you should all watch it because I paid money for it. All righty, there it is. So what do we got here? We've got a 64-page square-bound magazine format. That's 8.5 by 11, so it's much larger than your normal comic. Black and white with tonal rendering and bursting at the seams with action. If that's not an elevator pitch, I don't know what is. Let me give you a little bit more. I call it a magazine, but it's square bound. It's going to be on nicer paper. So it's going to feel more like one of those, Marvel graphic novels from the 80s. But we're going to call it a magazine simply because that's what I've been calling it. Because we're trying to bring back Savage Tales or Savage Sword of Conan back in the day, not like it is now, but larger black and white format. And this book magazine has 3 main stories in it. Okay, so this will be the debut of Primal Zone, my IP, intellectual property. It's a story of a reluctant hero. He's basically a soldier of fortune who is hired to go through this portal, interdimensional portal, to find this missing guy. And what he comes upon is a world of dinosaurs and cavemen and high adventure, high octane adventure. David Williams is also in this book. And he'll be doing the story of a young medieval knight who battles a horde of demons in a quest to become a true warrior. Of course, we have Danson Dan Lawless. He takes us to the futuristic Mars, where a high-tech society has fallen into savage chaos, and one man must fight to survive. And actually, I didn't write that correctly. He leads a rebellion against these powers that have taken control on this now barbaric Mars world. So it's a nice little mix of tech and barbarism. And Gary Martin supplies the classic inside front cover pinup for the book. And also there's a bonus story inside, a bonus story about Freya, the ice princess from the Ice Kingdom, and she is a Yeti slayer. So anyway, let's take you through the 4 cover options you have. You have the Barbaric Adventures cover A. That is by me. That is a painting. Who thought I could do it? I thought I could do it, and I did it. So there you go, with a big, nice red dinosaur right there in the middle. This is David's painted cover featuring his character. This is Dan Lawless's digitally painted cover. So he's sort of like, where David and I are more old school, Dan is reaching into the new technology. So he has a digitally painted cover of his character and for his story, which is called Mars Madness. That's the name of the story. I actually don't know what the name of his project is. I don't think he does. He just has this story and a character, and so that is depicted here on this cover. That's cover C. And then, of course, we have the great Joe Jusko come on board to do this wonderful cover in classic Savage Tales type fashion. My dog's going nuts. So anyway, if you're going to have a Savage Tales type magazine and you're going to have a painted cover, you got to have Joe Jusko. And so we got him. And this is, of course, featuring Freya, the Ice Princess, after taking the head off a Yeti. So these are your 4 cover options. If you look over to your right, you'll see this 4-pack plus. That's my featured thing. And that's the only reward or perk that's on the right-hand column. Everything else is all the way at the bottom of the page. So you just got to keep scrolling on this new Indiegogo design. But this will give you all 4 covers plus the Barbaric Sketchbook, which is $120 value. You can get it for $105. So that's a really good bargain. If you want to get everything, that's the best way to do it. Or all the covers. If you want to get everything, that's the big Barbaric box, which we'll get to in a minute. As you can see, here's some of the artwork. It's all going to be inked and ink wash. This is my story, Primal Zone, but everybody's doing ink wash or gray in their stories to kind of flesh it out a little bit more, to make it more interesting. And this is Dan Lawless's splash page to his story. Now, the aforementioned big Barbaric box. You get everything in the campaign, which we haven't hit everything yet, but you get 2 items that are only available in the big Barbaric box and are not available as add-ons. One of them is this 4-print portfolio set signed by me in an illustrated envelope. So there'll be an all new, I don't reuse stuff. Like when I do trading cards, it's all new art. If I do an envelope cover, like in this, it's going to be new art. So I haven't done the cover illustration for this, but it's going to be its own piece of art. It'll be black and white, of course, but it'll be printed on the envelope. And then you'll have these four color prints, except for this Deja Thoris and Tars Tarkus one is in pencil. These will be signed and they'll be in the portfolio. You can only get these by buying the Big Barbaric box. There's a fifth cover. Now this is the cover layout, or the cover, pardon me, the color rough for the painted cover. It'll be a finished painted cover, much like the one that's over my shoulder behind me there. This will be a painted cover, very Doc Savage kind of style, where you have our hero, Carson Taylor, and then, you know, some background elements pushed back with that sort of bluish green background there. It's going to be a really cool, striking looking cover when it's done, but you can only get it in the 4-pack, or pardon me, the Big Barbaric box. So those are the two items that come in the Big Barbaric box that are only available when you purchase that. We have stretch goals. Hopefully we'll hit some of them. And they're all going to be trading cards, because I want to continue to expand my trading card set. I want like a massive trading card set by the time I retire from this. Here is the Barbaric Adventures sketchbook. It's 8.5 by 11, 32 pages, stapled at the spine. It'll be exactly like the Kit Carter sketchbook was from that campaign. And so it'll fit nicely right next to it on your shelf. You can also get this snow hunt print, which features Freya, and looks like a menacing Yeti creeping up behind her. So this will be signed by me as well. You can get the shot glass with Barbaric Adventures laser etched into the glass. This is number 5 out of a set of 6 that we'll be doing through Empire Comics. And so if you've been collecting the shot glasses, you don't want to miss this, obviously. Got original art for sale. I did this with David on one of our AD streams, and it's already sold. This is sold. This is sold. This is still available. This is sold. This page is actually available. This page is available. This cover, David's cover, sold. And then, of course, my cover is still available. So you keep scrolling down, and there you go. You finally get to the rewards, what we used to call perks. There's the 4-pack plus. Barbaric Adventures shot glass, which you can order separately because it ships in a separate box. Barbaric Adventures, you can get the covers, whichever one you want. If you don't want all 4, you can just get one. And here's your choices. I would recommend getting all 4 because they're all 4 unique, and they're not repetitive at all. So you're getting a unique individual item each time. So it's hard to resist those 4 covers. And of course, that's exactly how I planned it. You can get my cover with a sketchbook for $40. That's a $5 savings. You know, it's not huge, but it's something. You can get my cover with the sketchbook and the snow hunt print for $55, which is a $5 savings. Again, a little something. Here it is, the Big Barbaric box. You get all 4 covers plus the 5th cover, the shot glass, the snow hunt print, the sketchbook, and the portfolio. That's a $210 value for $185. Freaking great value right there as well. And again, here's the original artwork. You can see a lot of it is sold. Some are still available. There you go, available. And then this one's available. And you keep going all the way down to the bottom, and you've got your add-ons. So here is where you could, say if you bought my cover, but you also wanted to get Joe's cover, well, you could just come down here. You could buy my cover, and then you can just add Joe's on right there. But you can also add on stuff that you missed from previous campaigns, say from the Trash Sketchbook, Wraith of God 1, 2, and 3 Kit Carter graphic novel, Garbage Man trade paperback featuring the first appearance of the nightclub, Power Cubed, and the Kit Carter sketchbook. So all this stuff you can add on to get caught up on your Loprestiverse material. So you'll find a link in the description of this video, as well as pinned to the top of the chat. If you're watching on X, you can go to my page on X and you'll find a link there, or you can just zip over to Indiegogo, type in Aaron Lopresti or type in Barbaric Adventures, and it'll take you right there. So right now we are at 303 backers, and let's see if we can push this baby up to 25 grand before the night ends. And also, we will be, because we hit 300, we're going to be raffling off an original piece of artwork of Conan that will be one lucky backer will get. And then when we get to 400 backers, we're going to do the same thing. 500 backers, we'll do it again. We get to 600 backers, we will do it again. 700, do it again. So there's that little bit of incentive to push these backer numbers up as well. Doing all I can to keep you guys interested. And there we go. And I will be showing you something very soon that hopefully will rock your world. But we're going to save that for a little bit later in the show. All righty. Yeah, it's true. I think my big piece of Carson Taylor fighting the cavemen is not what everybody wants. They want that chick. But you know what? Celia, that's her name. You'll probably see more of that coming up too. Okay, so where are we at in this wonderful show that is not drab or boring? We are going to take a look, folks, at the history. I think that's what's next on my list of the Academy Awards. Now, this is going to be a long, let's not put it that way. That makes it sound boring. It's going to be an epic journey through the Academy Awards. It's just, I'm not going to spend, hours on it, but we'll just do a little segment every week, breaking down some of the Academy Awards, telling some stories about it. And I want you guys to know that the book I'm using as my reference guide, mainly is this great book that I picked up. I don't know. When was this published? Like 2000. It's probably like 20 years ago now. 2002. So, geez, 24 years ago. I had hair when I got this. But anyway, I love it. Revised and updated. Yeah, not currently, but so it's the complete and unofficial history of the Academy Awards, and it's got fun stuff in it. And we're going to pick out a few items in here. I do have some visual aids. So the first Academy Awards was, they used to do them over like 2 years. So it was like 1927 and 28. Then the next one was 28, 29. So wherever they had the cutoff, it was, right in the middle of the year, which is stupid, but they did it anyway. Then 29 and 30. And then finally, when we get to the 30s, we have 1930 and 31, 31, 32. And then I think, God, they keep doing it all the way up to 1934 is when it became just that year. It was 1934, then 1935, then 1936. We didn't have this kind of like year and a half or 2 year thing in there. But the very first picture to win was a picture called Wings. And, I just happen to have the movie poster here. There it is with Clara Bow, silent film star, Charles Buddy Rogers, Richard Allen, and Gary Cooper, a very, very young Gary Cooper. Now, this was originally held in the Blossom Room of the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, and the host was Douglas Fairbanks. How about that? This film, Wings, was sort of epic. They used like a widescreen format that no one had ever seen before. They had like dog fights, and it was really quite an achievement. And they called it Magnascope, which was the precursor to CinemaScope. And 26-year-old lady killer named Gary Cooper. Isn't that amazing? Gary Cooper in 1927 was 26 years old. So when he got into the 30s and the talkie era began, he was already well into his 30s, and got to the 1940s. He was into his 40s. I didn't realize he was that old that long ago. So good old Gary Cooper. All right. So I'll just give quickly a couple of interesting points. The best actor winner was a gentleman named Emil Jannings, and he won it for a couple of films, The Last Command and The Way of All Flesh. I'm sure you guys are familiar with those. Best actress that year was Janet Gaynor, who you should know, for Seventh Heaven, Sunrise, and Street Angel. So the first two are in 1927, and the third one was in 1928. So it wasn't just one performance in one film. It was sort of a collective achievement over that year and a half. Here's Al Jolson, famous for doing blackface in The Jazz Singer, got a special award for doing blackface in The Jazz Singer. How would that fly these days? He did, as he got his award, and because talkies were right around the corner, and I believe The Jazz Singer was the first talkie film, and he's the one who coined the phrase, "You ain't seen nothing yet," and he was right. And an honorary award went to Charlie Chaplin that year. I want to quickly go over this. They only had 3 films nominated for Best Picture. Then they had Unique and Artistic Picture. They had 3 for that. They had the Best Actor, Best Actress. Only 3 people got nominated for each category. Director for a Comedy Picture, they had 3 people. Director for a Dramatic Picture, they had 3 nominees. Writing based on a material from another medium, writing directly for the screen, writing titles. So if you were a guy that created film title sequences, you got an Academy Award. Cinematography, art direction, engineering effects, and special awards. So that was the kind of the lineup back then in the very first year of the Academy Awards. And of course, as we said, Wings was the big winner. But let's bring up this fine gentleman, because here's where the Hollywood Babylon goodness comes in. You will know this guy as Charlie Chaplin. Now, how about this? The first comic superstar, Charlie Chaplin, was not well loved in Hollywood, which probably accounted for the nullification of his initial nominations for Best Actor, Best Director, and Best Writer. So they didn't love Charlie, but they did give him an honorary award anyway this year. Now, here we go. Listen to this. Adolf Hitler was a big fan of Chaplin, so big, in fact, that he grew his mustache like Chaplin's character, the Little Tramp. Before that, Hitler's mustache was an 1880s type handlebar mustache. So maybe some of you guys knew that, and I don't know why I didn't know this, but Adolf Hitler got his mustache look from Charlie Chaplin, which is interesting because Chaplin was Jewish, so I'm not sure why. Maybe Hitler wasn't smart enough to know that. I don't know. How about this? In her book, Tramp, The Life of Charlie Chaplin, Joyce Milton asserts that Nabokov's controversial classic Lolita was inspired by Chaplin's relationship with Lita Gray. Now, I don't know who Lita Gray was, but I think we all know Charlie Chaplin was no saint. How about this? Louis B. Mayer, okay, MGM Louis B. Mayer, and Charlie Chaplin came to blows over the studio chief's snide remarks about the star's divorce from inguine Mildred Harris. Chaplin got the first swing, but Mayer finally decked him. The boot that he ate in the Gold Rush was made of licorice. Louis B. Mayer provided visiting East Coast VIPs with star lookalike escorts. How about that? And look at this. Louis B. Mayer protected his MGM stars, which we all know the studios protected their actors. But check this out. He was very good about protecting his stars, including manslaughter cover-ups for Clark Gable and John Huston. So you have Clark Gable and John Huston allegedly involved in something that they would have got charged manslaughter with, and he covered it up for him. How about that? Gloria Swanson and her lover and financial backer, Joseph P. Kennedy of the Kennedy clan, were caught in a flagrant delicto on the family yacht by his young son, John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy, as a boy, was so distraught that he jumped overboard and had to be rescued by the crew. The future president of the United States, John F. Kennedy, caught his dad and Gloria Swanson getting it on the family yacht. How about that? And finally, Al Jolson paid his equally talented brother, Harry, $150 per week to stay out of show business. They weren't good people back then either. How about that? So anyway, there's a little dirt from the 1927-28. I want to hit all the 20s here real quick because we're going to move into the 30s next week and slow down a bit. But how about this? 1928 and 29, the big picture winner was the Broadway Melody, which was MGM's first talking picture. And they went full bore with the dance numbers, the music. I mean, it was just hugely flamboyant. And there you go. Best actor was Warner Baxter for a movie called, well, he is in a couple of movies. One of them was Old Arizona, and Thunderbolt, I guess, was the other one. The best actress and the big controversy of this year was Mary Pickford, won for a movie called Coquette, which apparently was, critics just really panned it. And her performance was, shall we say, less than stellar. And so you got to ask yourself, how did the beautiful Mary Pickford win an Academy Award when she didn't deserve it? Now, let's see. The ceremony took place on the Coconut Grove Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. William C. DeMille, the Academy president at the time, he was the host. So here we go. How about this? The talkies were a sensation, and their early critics, like MGM's Louis B. Mayer, quickly jumped into the act. He was well aware that the brand new Academy Awards could also bump up profits, especially if there was a little suspense involved. To that end, winners weren't revealed until the big night, even though they had already been decided on. So the winners, they already knew who won, but then they had this big, it wasn't the very first show, they just kind of went up there and picked up their awards and they all knew that they'd won. Well, now he wanted to create a little bit of tension, so he didn't reveal the winners, right? So it said a local radio station was on hand to broadcast the announcements, the cheers, the cries of surprise. But soon enough, the posh post-banquet gathering sensed the deck was stacked. All the winning studios and stars were either on the board of judges or closely connected to it. The most blatantly obvious fix was the Best Actress Award, America's Sweetheart, Mary Pickford. There she is. She's America's Sweetheart. But she cheated, or they cheated to get her the award. A charter member of the Academy, she was a charter member of the Academy, managed a few tears and an expression of astonishment. But she wasn't the only one. She beat out Ruth Chatterton and the late Janine Eagles with her stiffly delivered starring role in the critical bomb Coquette. So they're not pulling any punches here. As angry murmurs swelled to a roar of disapproval at the banquet, Mayer and his board of judges knew the gig was up, changes had to be made, and made fast if the awards were to survive. So here we go. Doesn't this sound like the comic book awards, like the Inkpot Awards and all that kind of stuff? So basically you had Hollywood from the very get-go of the Academy Awards cheating. So there you go. How is that, huh? Here's a couple of unmentionables as they classify them here. Oh, Lionel Barrymore, famous actor. Also, he directed Madam X. And he was the one who conceived the first boom mic, an overhang that allowed talking actors to move about freely on the set. Otherwise, they had them mic'd up on their clothes, or they had them like in mics in different spots throughout the room. So the boom mic was obviously a big deal. Okay. Best Actress nominee, Jean Eggles, died shortly before the awards of a heroin overdose. Yikes, even back then. Best director Frank Lloyd was most famous as a physical comedian. While posing for a publicity still, the bomb he held in his hand exploded. He briefly lost his sight along with 2 fingers. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's pretty much the good stuff there. So Mary Pickford apparently got herself an Academy Award when she didn't deserve it. Finally, let's take a look at one more. This was, and so far it looks like the pictures that won in the first couple of years were ones that deserved to win for a variety of reasons. Our winner in the 1929-30 year All's Quiet on the Western Front, a classic World War I movie. Okay, this Academy Awards took place in the Fiesta Room at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles. Conrad Nagel, I don't know who that is, I'm assuming he was an actor, was the host. All right, so we have Best Actor George Arliss for a movie called Disraeli. He's an upper-class British actor. How about that? And here's the controversy, folks. Best Actress Norma Shearer for The Divorcee. What does it have to say about Norma here? Okay. Okay, All Quiet on the Western Front earned its due as Best Picture. It looked as if the new democratic voting process was working until Norma Shearer was announced as Best Actress. It just so happened that she was married to MGM's second-in-command, Irving Thalberg. It also just so happened that she was nominated for 2 performances, doubling her odds of winning. There was also the matter of those persistent rumors that the Academy members who worked for MGM had been strongly advised to vote for her. Shearer was beside herself with shock and amazement as she swept up the podium to accept. It was by far her best performance of the year. 3 days before, she had posed for publicity pictures, awards in hand, with surprise in quotes, Best Actor winner George Arliss. Clearly, the kinks were yet to be ironed out before the Academy Awards could be taken seriously. Can they even be taken seriously now? I don't know. There was a period of time, though, that I think we did kind of take them seriously, but probably because we didn't know better. It is interesting, though. Thomas Edison was a special guest of honor. Thomas Edison. Amazing. So anyway, the pictures that got nominated that year were All Quiet on the Western Front 1, The Big House, Disraeli, The Divorcee, The Love Parade. Best Actor, George Arliss, Wallace Beery, Maurice Chevalier, Ronald Coleman, and Lawrence Tibbett. So you're starting to see a few names there that sound familiar if you're a film buff. And they looks like they got their nominations out to pretty much would become standard 5 people nominated. Actress Nancy Carroll, Ruth Chatterson, Greta Garbo, Norma Shearer, of course, the winner, the controversial winner, and Gloria Swanson, who was just a year prior getting it on with Kennedy Sr. and a little John F. Kennedy walked in on him. Writing, we don't care about all that stuff. So anyway, there was like 4 or 5 in each category. So you had writing, cinematography, art direction, and sound recording. So it looks like they pulled back and tightened up on their nominations. George Arliss was the first actor to win an award for a role he played in film and on stage. Norma Shearer and her brother, Douglas, MGM's sound engineer, were the first to make Oscar winning A Family Affair. He got his statue for The Big House. Well, there you go. Unmentionables, the talkies took its toll of victims, stars who didn't have the vocal or acting chops to match their physical beauty. Among those, I wanted to show you guys a picture of Norma Shearer, by the way, who I think may be one of the most, well, it's going to sound harsh, but one of the most unattractive leading ladies in Hollywood history. There she is. Among those who hopefully stashed away some of their hefty silent era paychecks were Clara Bow, Paulette Negre, Gilbert Roland, Nita Nalde, Renee Adore, Blanche Sweet, Agnes Aries. I don't know who any of these people are except for Clara Bow. Anyway, these are a lot of people that never made the transition into sound films. Lou Ayres shot to stardom with All Quiet on the Western Front, but his pacifist stance during World War II effectively ended his career. So how about that? All righty, guys. That is just a little bit of Academy Awards history that I find incredibly fascinating, even though our good friend Creative Faye thinks it's bland. Gemini Dragon says, "Oh, it's Black and White Heather Antos." There you go, J.K. Clark. I love that. She's what they call a handsome woman. She had a big nose and her eyes were too close together. And I remember seeing her in a movie, I think with Clark Gable, and I was like, they couldn't do better than that. But I shouldn't speak ill of the dead, even though apparently she got an Academy Award she didn't deserve. The funny thing is, as we go farther along in the Academy Awards, when we start getting into movies that I've seen and been, and you've all seen, and then we can start going, how did that win when this should have won? Back then, they were cheating anyway, but it's kind of hard to know. But it looks like the three pictures that won the first 3 years of the Academy Awards deserved to win. So there you go. All right. So I promoted on this show that I was going to talk about the best page that I've ever drawn. And the reason it came up, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll tell you the reason in a minute. So I was thinking about this, and I was just going to show you the page that I think is the best page I've ever drawn. But then I thought, well, wait a minute, step back. Let's take a look at some of the other pages you've drawn, and so we can be sure, right? So this is a splash page that I think is the best page I've ever drawn. So I'm only going to compare it to other splash pages that I've done. And so we'll warm up by looking at the runners up. And then you guys can make your own decision, I suppose. But I think it's interesting that a couple of the pages that are on this list for me personally are ones that are from creator-owned books I've done. I am particularly fond of this page of Garbage Man floating through the water after getting shot in the chest with a shotgun. You can see it. That's how it looks right side up. But there's quite a bit of detail in there. And I just kind of like how the whole figure works. And then, of course, I worked in, as I did in all my Garbage Man stories, I worked the title into the page, Crossed Roads. Okay. And so, we all know the cliche about, a crossroads in your life. Well, he's hitting a crossroads in his life, but the roads he's already crossed. So therefore it is crossed roads. So clever. Anyway, so that's one that I would be in my, I don't know, maybe top 10 or whatever we're going to look at today. Here's another one that's oddly enough is upside down, but it's not really. You see their feet right there and their reflection in the water. Now, this was originally done for DC, and Batman guest starred in this. So this particular story is called Beauty and the Bat, which I had to change for the trade paperback that I published through Dark Horse when I got the rights back to the character. But I'm quite fond of the work I put in on this. So you can see that's what it looks like upright, but just kind of the whole idea of, opening the book with a splash page that, shows their reflection in this puddle of water. So there's 2 pages right there. And you know what? We're not done. This page from Garbage Man as well, where he fights the werewolf creature. And there is a little panel down at the bottom, but I still consider this a splash page of where they're kind of rolling down the hill in silhouette. But another pretty strong piece, I think. I did show this, I think it was on Graybeards, whatever, but this is cross-gen. And much like Garbage Man, I worked Mystic into the title page of every issue I did. And there's a big ice dragon. There's a Yeti. I mean, come on. And the fact that I'm still keeping these is an indication that they are my favorites. So Henry Angeles says, so basically Garbage Man is your best work. I think it is, actually, if you take everything in. Although, well, we'll get to that in a minute. So there was a few. Let's see if I can. This portfolio is full of cover art that I've kept, but it also has some splash pages in it. I thought there was something in here that oh, here it is. Now this is also cross-gen, and it actually fits into Barbaric Adventures really, really well. Just kind of like the previous one did. How about that? So you've got Mystic up here, unlike this tree branch with a bunch of saber-tooths, and this T-Rex getting a little aggressive there. So as I think I talked about this last week, that I've done a lot of stories that kind of fit into this Barbaric Adventures format. And that's why I'm so thrilled to actually get to work on a book that's wholly dedicated to that genre. Okay, now this is interesting in that Doctor Strange, but they also made an action figure based on this, and I got no money for it, and I didn't even get an action figure. I still yet to buy it. But see that this little kind of, I don't know if you'd call that Art Deco or whatever design right behind Doctor Strange. They used that for the backdrop of the toy. So you buy the figure and it has a little stand with that thing in the back of it, this little stained glass thing. And it had all the Mystic smoke swirling around his feet. So they definitely took it from this illustration. And they didn't even send me one. Doesn't that suck? So anyway, this is, and it's that image of Doctor Strange has been used a lot by Marvel. So I figure it's got to be up there. So has this Hulk image from Sentinel Squad. See the Sentinels up there flying around. This image got used a lot by Marvel back in the day for promo stuff and posters at conventions and things like that. Now this one, anytime you get to draw Galactus, oops, wrong way. There we go. Anytime that's Galactus fighting a giant Sentinel. Anytime you get to draw that, you got to feel pretty good about yourself. So this is one of my favorite pages too. Of course, this is inked by Matt Ryan. This splash page, not the Conan Wonder Woman page there, but this splash page right here from this is the Justice League Maxi series that premiered just before Justice League International that I did with the New 52. Just the lighting effects and everything. Again, this is Matt Ryan on the inks, not me. This has gone down as one of my favorite pages I've ever done. Now, there's a couple that I don't have the originals, and I was going to look them up, but I just never got around to it. Where the heck? I know you guys are going, let me see those pages. Nah. It's got to be in here. But I passed it up. I know it was in there. Got a few Hulk pages from Planet Hulk that I kept. That were very much on my list of favorites. I just had it. Where the heck is it? Did someone come and steal my Hulk pages? Well, anyway, this is all part of build up anyway. So I had a Hulk page, or I have a Hulk page, a couple splash pages from Planet Hulk that are pretty cool. And then I've got this Wonder Woman splash page from my run on Wonder Woman, again, inked by Matt Ryan, where her and Beowulf, and she's like this sort of Nordic Viking Wonder Woman outfit, are fighting these dudes. In this, what do they call them? A lodge house or something like that, where they'd go and drink ale and eat food in the snow. So this goes down as one of my favorites. And you can see the kind of the motif up here around the frame, like you're seeing me doing on my Primal Zone story in Barbaric Adventures. Okay, so these are Tavern. Thank you. These are all some of my best splash pages I've ever done. And then there's this. I just finished this last night. And I don't know if it's something I should be proud of or something I should be embarrassed about, that it took me to be 62 years old before I finally did my best piece of work. But ladies and gentlemen, this may be the finest single page I have ever drawn. And you can get it in Barbaric Adventures #1. So I present you with this. And I say to you, if you have not backed Barbaric Adventures yet, what in the world are you waiting for? So you can see the border with a little lizard up there, little dino lizard. So you have border. Then you got all these like Frazetta cavemen dudes here. You got our hero, Carson Taylor. There's Celia back there. I love how she's letting him do the fighting. But she jumps in on the next page. Don't worry. But just from an illustration standpoint, I did this piece and I feel like this is the first page I've ever done in my life where I felt like, you know what? I just leveled up. I just figured some stuff out that I hadn't before. And now granted, I'm pushing the Frazetta look, you know, where the other stuff was maybe more contemporary to superhero. But you can see the, you know, The figure work and everything is more pushing Frazetta. The heavy blacks to create volume. See the detail up in the foliage and stuff that's growing over this temple. But so, yeah, someone asked earlier in the chat, is Garbage Man my best comic book work? Until now. But I'm pretty confident that I'll walk away from this project saying this is the best stuff I've ever done in comics. And I probably, because I know people are asking or wondering, I probably got about 3 full days in on this. And I still haven't ink washed it yet. This is just the black and white before I put the ink wash in. But I was like, if I could have only done work like this when I first broke into comics, instead of being the noob that I was, my career might have taken a different trajectory. But anyway, better late than never. So, folks, if you have not backed Barbaric Adventures, this is what you're missing out on. I'm very well pleased, and I will, as you can tell, and I will ink wash this probably on a live stream, and then you'll get to see the finished piece with the ink wash on it, and then I'm going to have to tighten down the make this a little bit more top secret, because it's a 24-page story. I don't want to show you too many pages, but you know, as I said, you've got to pick and choose things that might help sell the project, and I think I would think this would help. And I know most of you watching right now have backed, but if you haven't, please consider backing this project. I think you're really going to be sorry if you miss out on this. It's going to be really, really cool. And this is just my story. You still have David Williams and Dan Lawless. Dan Lawless's story looks great. David is still doing layouts and stuff for his, so I haven't seen the finished page yet, but I know that David is not going to take this line down. But anyway, there you go, folks. This, as of right now, is probably the best comic book page I have ever drawn. And I did it at 62 instead of 32 or 22. So that proves that you keep working, and you keep improving. Major glitch for £5 sterling. That page looks great, Aaron. This is why I love independent comics so much. It allows the artist to bring out their best work. Indeed. And it's not, there's no, and that's why the Garbage Man story, I think, is now the second best stuff I've ever done, because I had no deadline on it. So I was doing that. I was fitting it in between other projects. And so it was never in a rush. I was able to do my best stuff. I think the thing that for me pushes this page to number 1 on my list is simply that I inked this as well. So, you know, and I've had great inkers. I've worked with great inkers over the years, but when you are responsible for the, you know, the beginning through the final piece, at least in black and white, it's all you, and it's all, you can take all the glory or take all the blame. And I'd rather do that. And so anyway, there you go. That answers the question, at least for right now. What is the best page I've ever drawn? And it's in Barbaric Adventures, number 1. So back that book. You will not be sorry. It is going to kick butt. And thank you all. Appreciate your support. Daryl's Wayne's right. You can teach an old dog new tricks if the old dog understands that there's always room to get better. And as much as I would like to say, you know what, in 3 years I can officially retire, I don't want to. That's not how I look at things. I've had a chip on my shoulder since before I got into comics, and it's still there. And I feel like I've got something to prove all the time, and that's what I'm trying to do, is challenge myself and push myself. And yeah, I haven't, I was on a panel at a show once with some people, and some guy asked up about getting better and stuff, and I said, don't ever give yourself a break. I said, be your own worst critic, think everything you do sucks so you can push yourself to get better. And then a couple of people said, well, you got to give yourself a break once in a while, let yourself, feel some success or whatever. And I said, maybe you do, I do not. And, so you go through life grumpy like me, but you're always challenging yourself because you're unsatisfied, and you keep pushing and you keep pushing, and it allows you to get better, where, a lot of people might just coast. I've never felt comfortable doing that. And so there you go. That's not to say everything I've done is better than, there's ups and downs because of deadlines, and your interest in a project or whatever can affect, the caliber of work you put into something. But there's no way that I was going into Barbaric Adventures with David doing a story and Dan doing a story and saying, I'm just going to, I'll just do, kind of good, I'll just do the best I can. No, I'm pushing it. And so I'm very excited about it. And I hope you guys are too. So back the book once again, the links in the description of this video, and it's also pinned to the top of the chat. GJ says, Aaron, please don't ever retire. Your work's incredible. I would definitely miss the feeling of getting a book from you delivered to my doorstep. Well, luckily, I guess, for you, GJ, I am not independently wealthy. So retirement is something that does not seem a viable option for me ever. So I will continue to work and produce. I got to work in a couple of children's books in here too along the way. So I got stuff I want to do, and I want to do way more painting. You're going to see another painted cover, obviously, for the big Barbaric box. And then, like I said, we're probably going to go over to Kickstarter after that, and that'll have another painted cover by me. So I better get my butt in gear. I got a lot of stuff to do. That's how you silky smooth segues. All righty. So there you go. Where are we at? I've got artwork all over the place. It's over my little list of things to do. It's always dangerous to show your artwork and then drop into someone else's artwork that is pretty legendary, but we're going to do it. All righty. I don't know how we got this far, how we got out of the 80s and into the 90s without doing Alan Davis. Because I want to say Alan Davis to me was more of a late 80s guy. But I guess he was doing a ton of stuff into the 90s and into the 2000s. So he certainly fits into the category as a 90s guy. But we probably should have addressed him in the 80s. But oh well, doesn't really matter. At least we got to him. So let's take a look at some of my favorite covers of Alan Davis. And Alan Davis is very difficult because he has so many great covers, just to pick a few. But I did it. Of course, your mileage may vary. But, that's the wonderful subjective world of art. This is not any particular order. Like, I don't know that I have one of these I would say is his best. Maybe I do. We'll see if when I come across it. How about this? Now, this is going to be kind of a dumb reason for liking this cover. I mean, obviously it has all the Avengers on it, but Alan Davis did a bunch of covers that had the whole, he did several Avengers covers that had all the Avengers on them. He's done covers with all the characters on them. So why this one? Well, because of this dude right here, who most people think this is the gayest version of Giant Man. This is, I don't know why, but it's maybe because Buscema originally drew him, but he's one of my favorite. He's my favorite Giant Man version. This is Goliath, but it's Hawkeye when Hawkeye becomes Goliath. So you've got Hank Pym is the Yellow Jacket, right? So he gave up being Giant Man and now became Tiny Man. And that means Hawkeye then became the new Goliath with some growth potion or whatever. So this was always my favorite Goliath. And I have, like I said, it was just because it was that era where John Buscema was drawing the books that I guess probably is why I really liked it. But the costume has a little bit to be desired for sure. But anyway, it's a good cover because you're featuring all the characters. They're coming at you. It has a nice low angle, so it gives a little bit more drama. And so, it's just a solid, good cover. Gemini Dragon says, is JSA 4 on this list? I don't know if it is. I don't think it is. I had to draw the line somewhere. So, and there's some classic covers I think I left off this list because even though they're classic, I was kind of like, there's better ones than this. This kind of, you wouldn't think so. I don't think this is one of his best covers, but it's so iconic now, which is weird for it to be an Excalibur cover and can be considered an iconic cover, but it's one that gets homaged a lot. And this, of course, was the first issue of Excalibur. And I remember Marvel came out with a prestige format Excalibur book that predates this, right? It was kind of like, they put it out there. Fan reaction was good. Then they led with then they followed up with the series. Now the cover to that was just, a lot of characters fighting and stuff. Very busy cover. It's a good cover, but it was a busy cover. And this is a little bit more iconic. So I went with this. I only faithfully read two X-Men books, X Factor and this. This was mainly because I thought Captain Britain was cool, and I love Alan Davis's artwork. He's kind of like this. He's obviously inspired by Neil Adams, but there's kind of a more smooth, refined quality to his stuff that screams 1980s, baby. So I love it. This, I think, probably not on a lot of people's lists, but I just think it's a really powerful image. That big fist of an arm of Colossus just ripping up through the floor or whatever, that energy or fire or whatever it is coming up below them. You've got the half face of Xavier and the half face of, or eyes anyway, of Magneto up there and behind them. But you got all the chicks, and you got Wolverine thrown in there as well. I just love the composition. I just love the power of Colossus ripping through and up into the logo. And I actually like the coloring on this quite a bit too. This one is unusual because it's so dark. And that's kind of why I picked it, because I think it's just very unusual for Alan Davis. Alan Davis is very bright and cheery and, comic booky, but this cover right here is kind of dark. But I thought really kind of, that red in there and all the shadows, very menacing. You got the dead Avengers laying around this, whoever that is. I didn't read X-Men, so I have no freaking idea who that is. But you never really saw Alan Davis do pieces like this that are this dark. and with as much, black on them. But I really like it. JP Roca says, just got back from C2E2, had a great con. Excellent. Yeah, I haven't been to Chicago in a while. In fact, the last time I was at C2E2, it was when they were, it was a month before the COVID shutdowns. It was like the last show before COVID, before they shut everything down, which social commentary, stupidest thing ever done in the history, at least of the United States that I'm aware of. Probably not the world, but darn close to one of the stupidest things ever done in the world. Shutting down an economy because of the flu. And it was dangerous, but staying at home and wearing masks did nothing to keep that thing from spreading. And it just destroyed our economy. And Aaron is now officially off his soapbox. Baldo user for 5. Hello, Aaron. Will Barbaric Adventures be on another platform? The new Indiegogo is too difficult to navigate and just sucks. Yeah, actually, it's not that bad to navigate once you get on the campaign page. Now, I say that because I figured it out, but I'm probably going to be putting it up on Kickstarter down the road. But yeah, so there you go. Thank you for the $5. Appreciate it. Now, this is more a favorite of mine because it's Galactus. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. It's Galactus. I did a cover, pardon me, not a cover, but a double page spread talking about one of the best pages I've ever done. Similar to this. I sold it, so I'd have to dig it up, but Leg Kick for 5 says, great work, Aaron. Looking forward to it. I assume he's talking about Barbaric Adventures. Thank you. And I'm caught up with everybody, I think. Yes. Okay. Thank you guys for the super chats. Sequential Treasure is always trying to minimize my unique taste. Says, you better have Detective 575, Aaron, or this list is bogus. I did have it, but then I took it off. In your face, James. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is up there on my high favorite list. And it may just be because of the dinosaurs, but it's also really nice layout and design. Alan Davis is one of those guys that you see a cover and he just makes you want to buy the book. His style is so inviting. It's so it's like he has a distinct look, so you know it's him, but it's not so outside the realm of reality that you have to sort of make it an acquired taste. It's like he draws like you want comics to look, but he does it really well. And that's kind of the fun thing about it. I just love his stuff. I love his stuff. John Platt is agreeing with my political take. Thank you, John. I'm not the only one, of course, who thought that way. Half the world thought that was the stupidest thing in the world, but the other half won, unfortunately. This is a new one to me, but I really like it. This was Amazing Spider-Man. I don't know which volume, Amazing Spider-Man #1, but this was a variant. Spidey being upside down, I love how he turned, the camera so that we're seeing Spider-Man right side up, but you're seeing the city upside down. That's pretty clever. See, he does this little feathering here that's very reminiscent of Neil Adams. He's very much a guy inspired by Neil, but it's so much more, I don't know what, user friendly. I mean, Neil, of course, was legendary and very popular with fans. Um, but I wonder if Alan Davis had a wider appeal. Maybe not. But at that time in the 80s, he was cooking, man. Everybody, you can't find I shouldn't say that, but I don't know of anybody that doesn't like Alan Davis. There's people that don't like Neil Adams, which I can't understand. But I don't think I've ever met anybody that said Alan Davis, eh. And just as soon as I say that, Jay Clark says, his Spidey always bugged me for some reason. Here you go. And maybe that's a good way to put it. I always thought Alan Davis was a cleaner, slicker version of Neil Adams. Yes, I think that's a good way to put it. This is one of my favorite Excalibur covers just because I thought it was funny. And I will say this in defense of Chris Claremont, because Chris Claremont gets a lot of crap for being very wordy, in retrospect. But Claremont was writing this, and it had a nice sense of humor, but you still had some serious superhero stuff going on. And then you had this really kind of crazy soap opera thing going on between Nightcrawler and Megan and Captain Britain, and his old girlfriend came into the picture, and we all kind of joke about soap operas being for girls or whatever, but we all kind of get sucked into that stuff, even though we don't want to admit it. So I always really enjoyed this series. I just thought I was invested in the characters. I really wanted to know how, what was going to happen between Captain Britain and Megan and Nightcrawler, even though it made more sense Nightcrawler and Megan should be together because they're both like elf creatures, but anyway, this of course had Juggernaut in it, and I love how he just walks right through him. It almost has like a Justice League vibe to it, when Kevin McGuire was working on it, or Adam Hughes. That's Excalibur kind of felt like the Marvel version of that to me. This is a more recent cover, I guess, but I don't know. I really like it. And again, I kind of like Captain Britain a lot. And even though he has a beard here, I just think he's missing an eye and he's got a beard and he's all, and you got all these dead Avengers laying around here. Oh, look at this guy's impaled back here. I just thought this was a really effective cover. And of course, well drawn. John Platt says, Aaron, did you watch the trailer for the new Sony Spider-Man movie? Where he is sitting on a construction steel girder high up, but then you realize that he isn't sitting, he's hanging upside down. Yes, I've seen that trailer. And I'm not a big supporter of the Marvel movie universe anymore. I think the last thing I watched was the first season of the Loki series. And I watched Scarlet Witch and the Vision. And then I just kind of, whatever. I haven't watched any of the newer movies. Excuse me. But I am interested in this Spider-Man movie coming up. So we shall see what the reviews say about it, but I am intrigued by what I saw in the trailer. Well, that might be true too. Now, you all should be able to guess why this is on the list. Yeah, it's Nightcrawler as John Carter of Mars, kind of is doing an homage to Frazetta here, of the famous Frazetta John Carter painting. And you know, the other thing, Alan Davis, his female figures are so nice. So you can see Megan here, you know, kind of getting drawn into the Nightcrawler thing. And of course, I didn't like her haircut, but Rachel Summers here. I mean, this figure work is just outstanding. Not a lot of detail in terms of line work and stuff, just kind of what needs to be there. But just beautiful work. Yeah, that's Kitty Pryde. That's Rachel Summers, and that's Megan. But Megan, I guess, had like this power, right? That she would, like, she turned blue on a couple occasions when she sort of got drawn into Nightcrawler. Kind of emotionally, she would like kind of turn blue. Sequential treasures. See, I'm going to disagree with James again. He thinks Paul Neary was his best anchor. I don't think so. I think, what's his face? Doggone it. There was a period where, come on, help me out, you guys. Who was anchoring him? He was one of the best anchors at Marvel in that period of time. He was really, really good. In fact, I would put him on the Mount Rushmore of inking if I could think of his name. Come on, who's that anchor, you guys? Mark Farmer, thank you. Mark Farmer, I think, was Alan Davis's best anchor and one of the best anchors in the business, because I remember him inking guys that I didn't think were all that great, and they suddenly looked brilliant. So we'll end with this one, even though it's, you know, like I said, I didn't do any of the Batman ones because I just was like, I mean, they were good, but I think this one's pretty iconic as well. There was a ton, and it was really hard to just pick a few, but I don't want to go much over 12 because it just, you know, you can go on forever. But I thought this one was kind of important. And I remember this one, right? This is one that sticks out to me, you know, Wolverine versus Sabretooth. Nothing too special about it. It's just a close-up of these guys fighting, but again, really effective. God, when I think about how many issues these books were selling and what these guys were doing. This is inked by Neary here, by the way. Which Paul Neary did a great job over him. I'm not saying he didn't, but Mark Farmer's my guy. Just the royalties these guys were getting on these books. It's like, gosh, if I could have broken in like 5 years earlier and been better, I might have something in retirement right now. John Platt, 2 pounds sterling. Thank you, John. I'd rather have Doc Ock than Ruffalo Hulk. Yeah, you know, I always liked the look of the Ruffalo Hulk. I thought that's the best looking Hulk. But I mean, like from the first Avengers movie, not how they kind of soyed him up as time went on. And I'm not a big fan of Mark Ruffalo, period. But I did like the look. It was my favorite looking Hulk. Was back when he was still kind of the Savage Hulk. When he became kind of the friendly, doofy soy Hulk. Yeah. But back in like the first 2 Avengers movies, I guess. I thought that was the best Hulk. So there you go. But I know everybody hates Mark Ruffalo because he's woke, and I do too. But you know, everybody's kind of on the bandwagon for who's the guy that played the previous Hulk? Guy from Fight Club, who like has really fallen off the map. He was like a major star, and he hasn't really done anything in a long time. But anyway, he's just as liberal. He just doesn't talk as much as Ruffalo does. Edward Norton, thank you. So I don't know that anytime you learn too much about actors, you're going to wish you hadn't. That is for certain. So anyway, but the debate rages on. Okay, where are we at here? I started at 3. Okay, good enough. Let's take a quick peek here at the old campaign. Can you believe that? We're still 303 backers. After all that, after all that windbagging I did. After I took this page and showed you this wonderful page that will be in this book, part of the story, Primal Zone. It's a very Edgar Rice Burroughs type story. Not so much a Conan story as an Edgar Rice Burroughs type story, I think is more apropos to what I'm doing. If you don't like this, I don't know what to tell you. But you should be back in this project. This is going to be huge. So you'll find a link in the description of this video and a one pinned to the top of the chat to encourage you, if you have not backed this campaign already, that perhaps might be the day that you think, maybe I should back this. Again, real quickly, 4 covers to choose from. There's cover A that features my story, Primal Zone. Cover B, David Williams' young knight story as he battles demons. Look at that. So nice. Dan Lawless's Mars Madness story, which is just a weird combo of barbarism and sci-fi. It's going to be really cool. And then, of course, the great Joe Jusko lent his talents to this book by doing this cover for us of Freya, the Ice Princess and Yeti Slayer. She has a short preview story in this book as well. So you're getting my lead story. You're getting backups by David and Dan. You're getting my original 8-page Primal Zone story done back in 1997 that's never been printed. And also you're going to get a short preview story featuring Freya, the Ice Princess. This baby is jam-packed. When I say 64 pages, I'm talking 64 pages. So get behind this project if you haven't done so already. There's some of the inside artwork, some of the stuff that you can get in the big Barbaric box only, some add-ons. You've got your sketchbook, your print, shot glass, original art that seems to sell as quick as we get it up there. So there'll be more of that as well. So, and I'll always make an announcement when I throw an original piece up there for sale to help bolster the campaign. So anyway, and we're also raffling off a Conan piece for the first, whoever's backed by Wednesday will be in the first raffle. And then when we get to 400 backers, we're going to raffle off another piece of artwork. And we get to 500 backers, we'll raffle off some more. And it's just, and so on and so on. There you go. So appreciate you guys backing that already have. Those who are considering backing, please do. And also, everybody, please share it out through social media so we can get as many eyeballs on this as possible. It's a campaign that, quite frankly, is underperforming right now and is going to be legendary. So let's get everybody up to speed on this. All right, now it's time. We're going to go a little different route today, and I apologize for that if you don't want to, but we must address the elephant in the room. There may be a reason that we can't find Bigfoot. Could it be that he doesn't exist? Many of you, some of you, maybe none of you, I would assume some of you, have heard about the new documentary coming out. Oh, dude, tell me that didn't just end up. Okay, there we go. Sometimes you have a window open so long, it just like cancels itself. Yeah, baby, here it is. All the details in one place. The new doc shows the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film was hoaxed. There's a documentary coming out called Capturing Bigfoot. It's only been screened at a film festival. It hasn't had wide release yet because I guess they're still having trouble finding a distributor and all this kind of stuff. Now, to some of you like me, say, you know what? I don't need a documentary to tell me that the Patterson-Gimlin film was a hoax. But there is this whole industry, this Bigfoot industry that has been built on this film being legit. And I'll tell you, we see it every day, especially in today's society, where people believe what they want to believe, and then they manufacture reality based on what they believe, and what they believe is oftentimes completely wrong. And you all know what I'm talking about without getting too political here. So what is in this documentary that would perhaps put an end to Bigfoot? Actually, I don't think it will, because regardless of truth, facts, people are still going to want to believe what they want to believe. And but let's take a look. I have seen, other than this website, I'm taking this website to go over this article because it agrees with me. But I've read one from the Bigfoot Society of the Northwest, the Northwest Bigfoot Society, I believe it's called. So you can guess way they're leaning. But even after they claim they've seen the documentary and they say there's no evidence in there that would debunk Bigfoot, when there clearly is evidence in this film, according to other people, that would debunk Bigfoot. So obviously people that have a skin in the game, which the Northwest Bigfoot Society has plenty of skin in the game, would say, no, this doesn't prove anything. It's nothing. That's not what I've heard. I went and listened to videos by guys that were Bigfoot people that went in and saw this film and were just devastated and said, I can't believe it, but it is fake. I've been following this my whole life and it's all fake, and that kind of thing. So there are people that have, like in any walk of life, when confronted with the truth or facts, they'll actually come to their senses and say, okay, you were right. But there's still going to be many who will not. But anyway, let's take a look at this. So this guy here, Brian Dunning, who says, this is Brian's BS free zone. He says, we already knew the film was a hoax, but the revelations in Capturing Bigfoot add several thick new layers of corroborating evidence. He says, by now you've probably heard that the new documentary Capturing Bigfoot, which premiered last week at the SXSW, that's a film festival, has revealed that the famous Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film of 1967 was a hoax. Revealed is perhaps too strong of a word. It's been known beyond any reasonable, this guy's very cynical, says revealed is perhaps too strong a word. It's been known beyond a reasonable doubt, basically since the very beginning, why this was, 13 years ago that he believed this was a hoax. And I guess you could go to my Skeptoid episode laying out the reasons why he thinks it's a hoax. He said in Greg Long's 2004 book, The Making of Bigfoot, left no meaningful doubt. His reconstruction of the chain of custody of the film reel itself, as well as numerous interviews, showed that it was essentially impossible for the film to have been shot and developed the way its creator, Roger Patterson, always claimed. And what amazing luck that Patterson was literally being paid by a nature film company to go out and get a film of Bigfoot. I did not know this information, according to this Making of Bigfoot book, that Patterson was apparently, according to this book, being paid by a nature film to go find Bigfoot footage. So, gee, good thing he happened to find it. Capturing Bigfoot, that's the film, is not yet publicly available, but a lot of people saw the premiere in Austin, Texas, including my friend Angie Matke, and many of them wrote up its findings, including Ben Radford of the Skeptical Inquirer. I should go to that. That's my kind of website, the Skeptical Inquirer. I've collected them all for you here, so you don't have to. Here's the general timeline. And this is what I've gathered from other sources as well, not just this article. Hang on a second here. I'm going to move the screens around so I can actually see your guys' chat while I'm reading this. Bigfoot does exist, and he's the co-pilot of the Millennial Falcon, says Pantheon. That is true. No. Gemini Dragon says he does exist, but Graham Nolan killed the last one, and Aaron is running for cover. Oh my gosh. Aliens taken by Bigfoot taken by aliens. There's a lot of theories in the chat. Okay, the film was largely driven by public discovery of the rest of. Okay, the documentary was largely driven by the public discovery of the rest of the film. The other footage Patterson took besides just the short clip that he released and became so well known. Skeptics have always wanted to see this. The film shows the rehearsal footage that everyone suspected must exist. It had been in the possession of Norm Johnson, a film technician, who had kept it locked away at the insistence of his wife. When Johnson died in 2024, the reel was given to Mark Evans, who then made this new documentary. Upon seeing it, Clint Patterson, 66, that's the son of Roger Patterson, who made the original film, decided that he'd had enough and revealed all to Evans on camera. Now, here's what Clint revealed in the film. He said around 10 years ago, Patricia Patterson's, Roger's widow and Clint's father, Patricia Patterson confirmed to Clint that Roger had hoaxed the film in order to make money for the family, which it did. Clint proposed writing a book, but the family, basically his mom, had earned millions in licensing fees, and she had no wish to jeopardize that. Understandable. Clint reports she disowned him at that point, and he kept quiet out of respect until the discovery of the rehearsal film spilled all the beans anyway. Patricia did not give an interview in the film. Clint reveals, again, this is Roger Patterson's son. Clint reveals he watched his father burn the Bigfoot suit sometime after the film was made. Clint also states that his father always maintained to him the lie that the film was genuine, though Roger died only a few years after the film. The film makes it very clear that Greg Long and his book were spot on in essentially everything. The book was his primary source for that book was my primary source for my episode. Okay, so he's talking about his podcast, but 13 years earlier. Bob Hieronymus was indeed the guy in the suit in the final film, as Long and other skeptics have known for years, yet somebody else wore the suit for the rehearsals. When you see him walk, as he did in a PAX TV news segment, it's incredible how much his natural gait matches that of Bigfoot in this film. He doesn't even need the suit. At a 2024 Bigfoot event filmed by Evans, Clint and Hieronymus waited in line to see Bob Gimlin. That's the other guy that was involved in making the film. They told him they've come to finally tell the truth, and Gimlin agreed to join them and agreed to reveal the hoax on camera. This has also been confirmed by two other websites that I saw, that guys that said they watched the film. But Gimlin's wife stopped it from happening. This was all captured on camera. So much for Gimlin's lifelong insistence that he didn't know whether it was a hoax or not. Interestingly enough, the Wall Street Journal reported that Evans paid $30,000 in licensing fee to use Roger's footage in his documentary. Unfortunately, it doesn't say to whom. We presume it's Patricia, who is Patterson's wife. I guess she really wanted her pound of flesh, he says. That was a very cynical comment there. In closing, I should point out, and I disagree with this. In closing, I should point out that epistemologically, the Patterson-Gimlin film being a hoax says nothing about the existence of Bigfoot. any more than did Ray Wallace's family's admission that the footprints he laid over all the Pacific Northwest since 1958 were fake. So there you go. I disagree with that because the entire Bigfoot legend and all the subsequent Bigfoot films we've seen since were based on this. And if this is fake, come on, man. So I may have to, so is Bigfoot dead? Do I have to stop doing the show? Do I have to change the name of the show yet again? Now we've done this a million times. I'm going to do it again. This is the Ray Wallace film, which predated the Patterson-Gimlin film. And now Ray Wallace also came out with plaster castings of Bigfoot's footprint, right? That his family came out, this is documented, his family came out and said that this film was a hoax and all the Bigfoot footprints he gathered were hoaxes, right? So this, in this same area where this was shot, this is where Patterson and Gimlin went to shoot their film a year or two later. Okay, so, and this was a hoax. We know that for a fact. Everybody involved in it admitted it was fake. Okay. So then Patterson and Gimlin, we've all seen this film. I saw it when I was a kid and I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. This is the Patterson-Gimlin film, which isn't much of a film. It's only a few minutes long or a few seconds long. But so you have the, the out of focus, bouncy camera that we're all used to. But then we get, for a moment, we get a clear shot here of Bigfoot walking. And there he is. Okay, now this is the actual footage. You can see it's blurry. So we've seen these AI enhanced versions of this. And it's like the AI is putting in stuff that is not there. You can't, this is what the film looks like. Okay. It's blurry and that's all that's there. So all you can do then is sort of speculate on what it might look if it was cleaner. If you zoom in on the face of this mask, it looks like a guy wearing a carpet hood with eye holes cut in it. That's what it looks like. And yet people for decades have been just clamoring about the truth and how that is an actual footage of Bigfoot because this, that, and the other thing. Every time I've watched someone that was a special effects person look at this film, they go, that's fake. And everybody talks about, oh, the suit is so complex. Is it? We can't even see it. So again, they enhance the photograph by putting in material that isn't there to make it look better so they can say, see, look how great it is. Well, that's not what it looked like. What we just saw is what the film actually looks like. I didn't do it. I'm simply showing you what other people are putting up, and then we make fun of them because, of course, I'm incredibly cynical, and I think everything's fake, except comic books. Comic books are real, baby. I-974 says, maybe I'm fake. Let me tell you a little story, if I might. It was in Stanley wrote a story in Tales to Astonish or Tales of Suspense before the superheroes came in. So like this was early 1960s, late 50s, early 60s. And it was this great story where this guy and his friend they're in their apartment. And the guy's, of course, smoking a pipe like a pseudo-intellectual would. And he's saying, oh, I just got back from Tibet and I learned these secrets that these Tibetan monks taught me about manipulating matter and consciousness. And the guy's kind of laughing it off, going, oh, come on, give me a break. He goes, no, let me show you. He goes, these monks taught me that reality is only what we believe it to be. And if I don't believe something is real, then it's not. The guy's like, what are you even talking about? He goes, okay. He goes, look at that couch over there. He goes, okay. And the couch disappears. And his friend goes, what the? And the guy's like smoking the pipe going, you see, I simply looked at the couch and realized that it wasn't real. And so therefore it ceased to exist. And the guy's going, this is some kind of parlor trick. He goes, do it with, and he starts pointing at stuff in the room, and the guy starts making everything disappear in the room because he chooses not to believe in it. And then finally his friend goes, wait a minute. If what you're saying is nothing that we're experiencing is real, that nothing really exists, he looks at him and he goes, well, then what about us? And then the guy with the pipe has this quizzical look on his face. And the next panel, the pipe is laying on the floor and the guy's cigarette's laying on the floor, and they're both gone. They disappeared. So there you go. Don't doubt your existence because you might disappear. So anyway, that was one of my favorite old Stanley, Steve Ditko Tales of Suspense or Tales to Astonish stories. Clever little ending there. So what are we to make of all this? You can continue to believe, to want to believe, and I want to believe. Who doesn't want to believe there's some giant ape man running around the woods? But this film was made 60 years ago and they still haven't found one. And I brought up the point so many times on this show that if they can capture a giant squid on camera from the depths of the ocean, they should be able to find a 7-foot tall wild ape man. Or if you take all the sightings into consideration, there's thousands of them running around, and yet no one can get more than 3 to 6 seconds of film of one of them, which is either AI or their buddy in a suit. So, and I've seen a couple of films I thought were pretty decent, but you got to capture this thing. You got to prove to me that this guy exists. And now we just have, apparently, I haven't seen the documentary, but as soon as it's out, I will go see it and judge for myself. But based on everything I'm reading from people who have seen it, the Bigfoot community is very depressed right now because their cash cow may have flown the coop. And this is, to me, has always been like the Loch Ness Monster, which I always wanted to believe existed, right? But there's just overwhelming evidence that it doesn't. So there was that initial photo from 1920 something, of the black silhouette neck of the thing coming out of the water. That was the first corroborated visual evidence that this thing actually existed. And it was proven to be a hoax. It was proven. The guy admitted that he faked the photograph. And so you had this whole legend built on a fake photograph. We have this whole legend of Bigfoot built on a fake movie by Patterson and Gimlin. So now I know that there's legends of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. It's an Indian legend, I guess, or so I've heard, but I don't know. And the same thing, the talk of the Loch Ness Monster has been around longer than that photograph. But when you have the first visual evidence that everybody builds their platform around, or their foundation of their belief system is fake, it's not a good indication that the thing was real to begin with. So anyway, there you go. That is my, hopefully, level-headed, cynical, level-headed exploration into what may be now the death of our friend Bigfoot. Can I even continue in good faith to show Bigfoot videos after this? I guess we'll find out next week, won't we? Nicholas Gear. Now here, I'm sorry. This is actually a pretty good theory. He says, or it's all real and the CIA is forcing them to say it's fake. But you'd have to give me an explanation of why it is beneficial to the government for us to believe that this thing is real. See, that's the thing with the flat earthers, right? Oh yeah, the government wants us to believe the earth is round. Why? Of what benefit is that, keeping that a secret? I know not. The moon landing is fake. Well, they faked it 6 times. If they faked it once, maybe you could convince me, but they faked it 6 times. Come on, man. So anyway, that doesn't mean the Dogman doesn't exist. It doesn't mean the melon heads of Connecticut don't exist. Maybe we'll just have to do a deeper dive into some of the other cryptids. Whatever happened to the Jersey Devil? Do we have any evidence on the Jersey Devil? What about the lizard men of Utah? Where are they at? There's a lot of stuff out there that needs to be explained, but I'm feeling very close. And I can't officially sign the death warrant to Bigfoot until I see this documentary for myself, because otherwise I'm just listening to people's opinions about what they saw. I'm sure I'll agree with them, but I'd like to see it for myself. But then maybe I should go into debunking dinosaurs. Really piss people off. It's on my agenda, but I'm not debunking dinosaurs, but giving a, shall we say, a different opinion on the timeline and that type of thing about dinosaurs. But that would require a lot of work on my part. And as you know, I'm extremely lazy outside of drawing. And, putting a show together is generally something I don't want to spend weeks doing. So we shall see. No, I believe in dinosaurs. Don't get me wrong, but I don't agree with all the dinosaur science we're being fed. Let me just put it that way. So anyway, challenging times we live in. Can we find the truth? Or are we destined just to believe lies for our entire life? I don't know. But I'll tell you what's true. This is probably the best page I've ever drawn in a comic book. Or a comic book. It's not in a comic book yet, but it will be soon in Barbaric Adventures #1. So I challenge you to ask yourself the question and be truthful. If you're not backing this book, why are you not backing it? And if it has to do with anyone else's behavior other than my own, I don't accept that as a legitimate reason not to back this book. So Barbaric Adventures, featuring Primal Zone by me, David Williams, Dan Lawless contributing backup stories. It's jam-packed full of Edgar Rice Burroughs, Robert E. Howard type adventure and excitement. And I think we need a little bit more of that in our life, don't we? If we can't be heroes in real life, let's pretend to be heroes by reading about them. And that's what I'm here to provide for you. So anyway, a link is in the description of this video. Will take you right to the campaign. There's the campaign is link is pinned to the top of this chat. If you're watching on X right now, you can just wander over to Indiegogo after the show, and you can back it right there by typing in Aaron Lopresti or Barbaric Adventures. Help support the campaign so we can continue to bring you, quite frankly, the best comic books that you can get these days. So thank you guys for joining me today. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the conversation. Wipe the tear away from your eye about Bigfoot. There'll always be something else to take his place. Take care, everybody. We'll see you this week on Graybeard's Studio. Hopefully you'll make that. I have several videos I'll be making throughout the week too. Well, a couple anyway, of me drawing, and David hopefully will be joining me promoting Barbaric Adventures. And then we'll circle right about here. Oh, actually, we're not going to be here next week because it's Easter Sunday next week. This, by the way, is Palm Sunday, where Jesus Christ rode the donkey into Jerusalem, and all the people with the palm leaves were saying, "Be our king, be our king." But when they found out that he wasn't going to be the king that led them to knock off the Roman Empire and give them their political freedom, instead he was the king that was going to save them spiritually, they rejected him. Bummer. But we did not. At least I did not. So anyway, Palm Sunday today. But next week is Easter Sunday, and I will not be doing a show on Easter Sunday. So we'll see you right back here in 2 weeks for Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. Thank you, everybody. See you soon. Good night.